All right, Packer fans, thanks for watching. It's Block Party. I'm Mike Wahle. Please follow me at Mike Wahle68 on Twitter. Hit this up on the Process to Perform channel on YouTube. Also on the Pack a Day podcast. It'll be out, I think, on Wednesday. Thanks to Andy and the crew there for putting this up. So the Packers win 27-20 over the Giants. Kind of a last-minute back-and-forth game. I think we learned some things about what this offense is going to look like without Tucker Kraft. Hopefully we don't have to learn about what this offense looks like without Josh Jacobs, who went out with a knee injury. What we do know is Jordan Love very well could have been 20 for 24 for 350 yards and 2 or 3 extra touchdowns instead of just 13 for 24 for 174 and 2. But we had 7 drops. Our running game, the best plays in our running game were a 17-yard reverse, a 15-yard swing pass to Josh Jacobs that wouldn't count it as a rush, and a quarterback RPO with Malik Willis for 16 that wouldn't have registered, I think, in the play menu if Jordan Love was still a quarterback. So there's some things we need to fix, but we did try out some new things in the run game. From a passing standpoint, like guys are out there making plays, trying to make plays, giving great effort. I think we just need to work on execution. And look, we got a really good quarterback. And for all of this, you're scoring 27 points a game. You've got a good young quarterback who can continue to play better, but had a really good day yesterday. The stats don't indicate how well he played. And as we build momentum for the playoffs, certainly those are things that you can look to and go, I feel pretty good about the opportunity in front of you. The other part of this is defensively. Look, the Giants come in, they run the ball 38 times. They want to shorten this game. They have 12 minutes. They have 12 minutes of extra time on the clock for their possession, as do the Green Bay Packers. They got what they wanted out of this football game. They kept it close. It was a slogfest. Their offensive line played pretty well. They're out their quarterback, their best running back, their best wide receiver. They managed to put up 20. Then again, they only put up 20 points a game in the National Football League is winning football from a defensive standpoint. The issue again is there's just a lack of big plays on both sides of the football. And, I think everybody else has talked about this as well. You have 4 drops that could potentially interceptions. Kerryon Valentine has 2 and Keyshawn Nixon has 1. I think Jonathan Bullard gets it knocked out by Isaiah McDuffie on he had a PBU. Unfortunately, it was on his own player. There's still some area of opportunities, whether it's in run defense, or just making these plays on the back end, but you got to feel good about how that defensive plays. I think one thing that's interesting is if you looked at the intensity level, if you wanted to look at the locker room and go, okay, this group of players plays with the kind of intensity that you really want, and this group of players could work on a little bit. Like, where would everybody stack on offense and defense? I'll leave that for you guys. We're going to watch tape right now, starting with, I believe, the defense. Enjoy the tape. When we get back, we're going to do the listener questions. Guys, thanks as always for bringing those in, by the way. I really appreciate it. Fun things to talk about, ponder a little bit. But here's the tape. Enjoy it. We'll be back soon. All right, here we go. It was some Packers defense. They're going to run a deep crosser here with the Giants talking about them. Jameis Winston's in the shotgun. It all starts up front, guys. And look, we're going to shift to a cover 3, meaning that Xavier McKinney's going to play deep third. You see, we're down here on the passing strength. Really, we're just going to get a 4-man rush. We're going to get a chip out here on Micah Parsons. We're probably going to get some sort of chip on Rashawn Gary. But really, those inside guys are going to have to handle 3-on-2. You'd love to see the single block win. That's going to be Devontae Wyatt here. I think on the right guard. Yep. And really, we don't generate much of a pass rush. So they're able to step into the quarterback position. And look, these are tough plays when you have no pass rush. When you got a good wall up, and you can see Kerryon Valentine here is going, hey, let's switch this. Here he comes. I'm going to take him. And now my guy take this guy. The problem is there's 2 things going on. One, you got the flat player. We call that buzz at the safety position. For the strong safety, the free safety, Xavier McKinney, now has to drive on this crosser. And he's at a deficit, obviously, because he's backpedaling and having to worry about, amongst other things, being the deepest guy in the field and that. The other thing I want to talk about, and this is just not with Quay or Cooper, but everybody in the National Football League is, are we getting enough depth at the linebacker position? I know we got to hug up here, but are we getting enough depth to help us with some of these crossers? This is why they released the back out of the backfield, so that So the Quay's got to get up and get out of the way. But you see the effect it has on it because it really just opens up this window. You'll see that. Like, that's a really, really easy window to throw in if you're a National Football League quarterback. Not myself, but National Football League quarterback. Nice tackle. Look, Williams is playing his ass off. He's having great success on the field right now. And, some of these plays are unavoidable. I switched. I was wrong in that last play. So McKinney was up, at the strong safety position with passing strength. And Evan Williams was back at free safety. So we get a little bunch look on an offset tight end. They motion across to a 2x2. They run a little simple dive play here. Okay, so we're going to go cross dog here off the motion. We did this a lot this game. So they go motion. Quay walks back in. Show you here. Now he's going to hit it. At the snap, we're going to hit this. So, they're just doing out, probably planning on going up here to Coop, but now he just runs in here. Now, because of that, and because the tackle knows he's actually got Quay, he's going to step down. We're going to step out at the 2-eye, and now you got this huge lane here where it's effectively like, you got this is walled off. He's going to block, come over, bang, bang. And as long as, if you're basically the game here is like, do you think Quay's going to be able to take on 61 by himself? If he's going to shoot this gap, I'm going to say yes. If he's just going to stand here and take it, it's hard for a 240-pound linebacker to take on a 310-pound tackle or center, excuse me. End up getting a couple yards on a run. Now, they ran that play a bunch. We're talking about the Packers running the cross dog. It was very successful over the course of the day. But they saw that one. They made a good call and adjustment. And, that's the problem with running stunts. If you get caught on that backside, bringing that tackle down to that 2-eye, you have an issue. So we look here at a 2x2 tight look. We call this nasty splits. We've got cover 2 really on both sides with the safeties. You see both cornerbacks are expanding. And what's open in cover 2 is the middle of the field. Now, the question that I would have with plays like this is, are we saying that, we need to have 2 guys on the tight end, or are we saying that Quay needs to get back to the middle? Now, in true, when I was growing up, Tampa 2 with Monty Kiffin, Tampa Bay Bucks, the middle linebacker is going to get depth down the field and take away that middle. So this play isn't open because Quay would be all the way back here, and then we've got here, and then obviously we'll just come down and tackle the flat, okay? That's generally how we used to think about this. You got kind of this middle alley that you want to take care of. We're doing something a little bit different here. Not a great play for the green and gold. I thought this was interesting only in that I think Quay's reading this, and part of this is because he's backside and how they insert. But you look at this play, and this is why the insert of the running back is so important, right? Just generally speaking, if I go back to the snap here, if you didn't know anything about football, you watched one game, you'd be like, all right, well, this player, because he's on this side, they usually kind of take the hand off and they kind of go over here and they want to insert over here near this guard bubble somewhere, right? But what they're doing is they're just taking an inside step here, and what they actually want to do is get the double, and they want to get the A block here, and then they want to bounce this backside, and they just want to get this guy to hold Micah Parsons out. And you're going to see it kind of traps Quay, and Quay ends up kind of, not really moving until it's too late. And it's just because he's trying to read this thing out, it looks like. So you'll see it from this angle. He's like up, 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 and then it's a little bit late for him. Look at it from this angle too. So they've got this nose tackle. But you see the back's initial track is actually off this backside, well, we're calling it backside B, really play side. But all they're really trying to do here is get that backer to hold. And then he's got kind of a two-way go, right? If they get a great crack block out here, then he digs out, then maybe we just go straight through, we being the Giants. And if not, we'll just go over here. it's kind of interesting, at least to me, because it really is nothing different except for the way you treat the play side tackle and then the insert of the back. But the insert of this back changes everything. It changes the way the safety looks at it. Look at it, Evan Williams. Like, he's going to be late because, by default, he's just mirroring the back and he's not taking his normal track. So he ends up on the wrong side of the football. Interesting play. No new blocking scheme for the lineman. If you're looking at this from like, how do you expand your playbook kind of standpoint, that's a very easy way to do it. Got a bunch down here on the bottom. Packers are lined up. Looks like in like a cover 6. So you got 4. Now they're backing up into rotating back down into 3 here. It looks like, or that might just be cover 4. Excuse me. And then we just got a hard run read by Evan Williams, which would be nothing new under the sun there. I put this play in because this is such a great job by Enigbari and what he does to Andrew Thomas here. Andrew Thomas is their best offensive lineman, good player. And he just gets, and this happens to everybody. It happened to me a ton. You just get stunned. Whew. I mean, just absolutely gets stunned. Enigbari does these things every once in a while because he's not that big a player. But, man, he puts some power behind his punch from time to time. He knows it right now, too. That's an insane play. And that dude's 310 pounds. All right, we got wing tight ends here, and I think this is going to be the PI on Isaiah McDuffie. Yeah, it is. So you got your play action. Runyon gets beat at the left guard position. I think that's Wooten, but he loses or wins so fast. Oh, he just can't get up. Ugh. And he gets tackled into his legs. I've picked that flag up, I think. McDuffie's doing everything right here. Just let him go, man. Your guy is there. Just let him go. Like, you have good coverage. Ideally, what they usually say here is, you bend this, you run, and then you get your eyes back and you're trusting your safety to make the play, right? You don't want to try to face, obviously you don't want to face guard, right? But that angle is like out, and then, you're kind of building up and running with, and you're trying to keep the width here, and then we get that safety to come over and help us make the play. Just don't want to face guard. Oh, it was a good play too. The Giants, to their credit, 38 rushes. All right, so this is 4th and 3. And look, the Giants are on the 44-yard line going out. They're trying to win this football game. They have a game strategy that they're going to try to fulfill, right? So they go bunch left up top with that close split. And what does that close split probably tell you? That close split probably tells you they're going to run some sort of flare. A lot of guys will run like a corner, or maybe even they could run a dig from here, and then they're going to run, I don't know if this is the right guys, but they're going to run some sort of shallow, and then they're going to run something down here, probably chip out, and then release to the flat, right? So let's see how this plays out. But we're going to only go with a 4-man rush. So they switch release this, but the top guy runs the shallow. They run the out and the flare, and then they're trying to run that corner over there. So that's the play. Now this guy, when Jameis Winston has enough time to get all the way across the field here on his progression. And so really, if you were just going to read this as just 1, 2, 3. And then you can go like, is this 4? Is this 5 or 5 and 4? Whatever, right? You're getting all the way across. Now this back should probably be going like this to make this window a little more open. He's going to go here. We're going to drive. So we've got this covered well. The problem is he's got too much time in the pocket. Like on a 4th and 3, you don't want your quarterback to get across the goddamn field and be able to, get all the way over to here. It's a long time to be able to, cover somebody. Nixon. Everyone's going to Nixon. No, it's like. It's a long time. This guy is running, more than one route right now. And you look at it here, you got a wide, if I see this way out here, I'm thinking I'm going to set for this game. If they could run like a TE stunt, you're going to be good here. I'm guessing they're going to go right here. So they're going to have some hand presence, maybe some inside presence on that 3-tech. Probably going to chip out and help 72 here, right? That's what most NFL lines would be doing. Okay, so Carl Brooks has a nice little 1-2-3 with a, kind of in-out feint. I think Runyon probably knows that he's got center help here. But if you're Rashawn Gary, I know this isn't your preferred side, but you want to get a pass rush there. It's too long to hold the football on a 4th and 3. All right, we got that same bunch look. Same options are on the table. And they run some very similar stuff here, right? Another 4th and 3 look. Like, this is the same play, guys. This is pretty much the same play. Now they're going to run the shallow. They're going to run the shallow over here. They're bringing him across. That's not a good look. And he's probably running a choice across the middle where he can go bang this in or out. And then I think you've had the back coming out here again, right? So same look. Trying to occupy some similar spots in the field. They change the bottom on the 3-by-1 receiver. Take the crosser. And 84 just on the release. This is a violent release. I like this kid. He's a good player. He's going to be a good player. Now this is where you go, pass rush saved our ass. Right now, for whatever reason, doesn't have eyes on it. It's probably, you think maybe a safety on a tight end like that in the corner of the end zone. You like that throw. Maybe it's a late throw, so you're looking for something early because I think it's a 4th and 1 look. But because of the pass rush, he feels it this time, Parsons, and we end up occupying that center with Isaiah McDuffie. Open, but can't see it, can't get rid of the football. So they marry up, They marry up. Fantastic job. Watch it here. They bring McDuffie just to occupy that center. I just 100% transparent here. Got to get more pass rush out of both these D tackles. I think Andrew Thomas has a good set here, and it's difficult to beat, quite frankly. If you don't have a great get off, come on, Mike. If you don't have a great get off here with this, with 55, if you don't have just a magic get off, which he doesn't, you're not going to beat that set very often. Parsons is. We got a 3rd and 4 look here. They run that little orbit, or that we used to call it ghost motion. They had 2 screens. One I didn't put on. Cooper could have had the play in the backfield. Just didn't quite make the tackle. But we run this away from pressure. So they bring pressure off the bottom here with Bullard. And usually away from pressure is what? Away from pressure is soft. Okay? So you got a drop end. So you got, the thing that's bad about this, you got a drop end playing in space. You don't like defenders in the area, but if it's going to be one, it must be a big guy, right? And then you got Coop, who's already almost made the play here once. The problem is they're not married up on how to deal with this because Enigbari does, he's not. That's not home for him. He's rushing the passer. So you see Cooper's trying to do the right thing, make it cut back inside, but tough. 2nd and 5 play here. And this is one of the 2 plays that started working for them. They just kind of had this. They ran duo, and then they started running this, which is just kind of a tight end guard lead. And with both teams, really, it allowed, from both sides of the football, it kind of allowed you to wad this up. You like your double teams over here. I don't think this is the most physical play I've ever seen this guy make, quite frankly. Now, something interesting here, too, somebody asked about this earlier, is you can see McDuffie's telling McKinney to come down, Williams to leave. So they're communicating, okay, I got you. So now he's coming off the edge. So we read this correctly. Like the Packers make the right call. Everything is right here. They must know that 84 is going to be the lead guy, or 82 is going to be the lead guy, not 84. They're going to run to 84 side. He's a better inline blocker. And they make the right call. We just don't get it blocked up. You really want to see Cooper shut the door here on 76. Sometimes this gets difficult because you're stunting Rashawn Gary where he can't just take on 84 by himself. 3rd and 2 look. They run this little jet. We got lucky here. So they're going to call this a hold. I'm a lineman. I'm rooting for the Packers, but God damn it. Like, come on. Come on. It's not a hold. Big play. Late flag. Whew. These are big plays in the game. Big plays in the game. 4th quarter. 2-by-2. Another close split. So you got a lot of options on the table, right? We can run crossers. You got the outside the numbers is all wide ass open here. You're going to get some deep stuff if you want it from a crossing standpoint because you're close. We mug up. Bring 4. And, I was talking about this earlier, and I don't know if he might be a little bit off the screen here talking about Williams. But, Jameis Winston is a veteran quarterback, so they're going to kind of switch release this, and they're going to end up running here. And, I'll let this run a little bit, actually, before we get to it. Okay. So I'm going to move this over just so you guys can see what I see. And go back a little bit. Okay, so here, Williams is sitting on this route. And we got way over here. And what happens is some quarterbacks in the National Football League, not all of them, some quarterbacks in the National Football League will be able to go to this receiver. Hey, if he's outside leverage and they're running 2 shell, touchdown, right? Easy. Outside leverage running 2 shell, touchdown. And this is another situation. If they're running 22, which it looks like they are, right? We got asked to the sideline. He's coming over late because he sees the ball being thrown. That's a tud, just because he's got leverage. Now, route recognition, game plan, everything goes into this, right? I'm not talking out of my ass, but we don't know that we don't know how they prepared for this. The biggest thing to note is, and one thing with, any receivers, our receivers, is once you commit, and we saw this with Dobbs a couple of weeks ago where, on that 4th down play, and we had the corner deep and then Dobbs on the out, and the cornerback had to make a decision, and we ended up not throwing the ball. It was like a 4th and 8 play. We got sacked, or no. Sacked, or no, he just threw it into the end zone. That's the kind of route you can convert this. If you're running the corner, he's in the way. You can convert this and bend this here and give your quarterback a chance. Again, he's got to have the play, right? And this is just great route recognition by Evan Williams, and also just a reality of not having the right guys on the field for the right amount of time and getting to practice together. All right, here we go. Packers offense. So, no Tucker Kraft. Got Josh Jacobs, though. And so they run this, really, this is at the heart of it, this is a new play. And again, all of these plays kind of look the same. If you're like, no, Mike, this is just split flow. Okay, there's blocking back. They're treating this, though. Like, we call it kick. In other words, they're treating this like kick, like these are all down blocks. They're not getting a double here and, holding this guy. They got all this reverse switcheroo, jingle, jangle, jangle, and then hand the ball off. He's got the jab step. So we got to go, this is kind of like your hinge, You got this great ace or a double backside down block here, and then we just want to kick this guy out. That's why we call it tight end kick. right? And then we just got this little lane we're running on that safety, okay? And you're hoping the safety plays over the top or something like that, but you don't really care. This ghost motion just holds the backers, so they can't just fast flow here, okay? But this play was successful. We ran it a bunch of times in the game. Got a good stop block out of Romeo Dobbs here. And Christian Watson. Hey, one thing I want to give credit to is, Aaron Banks is, high-priced free agent. Life sucks when you're a high-priced free agent. You guys aren't running the football well and you play guard. But one thing that is undeniable about this guy is the dude likes football and he plays his ass. Like, he plays hard. Like, he's always on downfield getting, picking running backs up, getting off the blocks and stuff. Like, when we talk here, it's like sometimes you take – I observe some footwork stuff that you maybe want to work on or this or that, but like he's always trying to move guys off the spot. I think he's the only true physical player we have inside as far as he's not always fitting. He's trying to like actually move a dude. And then he's always trying to finish. So, let's call it what it is. It's good stuff. Okay, Dill, 2x2. We go motion to 3x1. Did that real fast. Now, this is the best run of Josh Jacobs' game. I know he got hurt. It sucks. But this is the kind of game it was. The best run you had was just this. Really, it's an extended handoff down the sideline. I think he got 15 or 16 yards. Again, one thing to note is you got to always look at how these guys are blocking. So you got motion across with Wicks. Is that Wicks? I think it is. You got your tight end there. Yeah, I mean, that's a good job. That's a great job. And that's how you get longer runs is the blocking by the guys on the perimeter. We got a 1st and 10 play, 12 personnel, under center play action. Jordan's running for his life, first quarter. Gosh darn it, what happened? Well, now, listen, I don't know if they game plan for him, but I know we're supposed to know where he is at all times, okay? And right guard, I'm not sure what he's doing. I don't think he is either, right? This is a tough thing. Unless you're making a call, you see what Zach Tom does, right? And the true difference is between the two right here. God damn it, Mike. Is obviously experience and everything, right? But it's not athleticism. It's just watch the balance and body control here as we run through this play. It's like 1, 2, he's back. Okay, got it. Now do the exact same thing here now. Are you under control? Is your first step too big? All this stuff. That's, you have this huge stagger. You step behind yourself, and it's like, again, we pick it up just because it's footwork that can be fixed. It just has to be fixed. So we're 2nd and 10 now. Got another 12 personnel look, inverted wing back there, like you were in Top Gun. And Musgrave is just, it's tough because what happens in football, it's like you're in a shooting slump in basketball. You just got this easy, hey, give the guy a little switch, a little gimme route. Okay, this is a gimme. And you get in the shooting slump, and all of a sudden the basket used to look the size of the barn, and now the basket looks, the size of like a thimble. And I think the same thing happens when you're just trying to make plays. It's like, that's a play this guy's made 100 times in his life. Corner comes down, not a big guy, just a corner, just comes down and makes a hit. Maybe, I think it's a corner. Might even be a safety, but I think it's a corner. Just makes a little hit on our tight end and just knocks the ball loose. And they're trying to get him something to build confidence is the problem, right? And it does the exact opposite. So we got 3rd and 11. And I talked about it with Andy Herman. The Jordan Love's kind of best thing he does is his ability to throw, off schedule, and his ability to throw regardless of how his feet are. Dobbs had a couple drops. I know he had 7 in the game. But I suppose is they're running just a little flood here. The spacing on the outside is not great, as we're getting towards the sideline. But Jordan makes such a good throw. And, this is another one of those plays. You think about, look at 81, who's I think this is his first game, caught a touchdown. And you're trying to replace Tucker Kraft. And so you motion over. And this could be anybody. And, these things happen. And, like, all this. So you got a down block, right? And if you leave space and he can just go straight through, like, you put your quarterback in a bad position. Well, the other thing that can't happen is you can't get bumped off by your running back. But all of that is sometimes a function of, like, how aggressive you are here. So are you going to close the space? No? Okay, well, now you're going to let him go. And now we got a problem, right? And so now Jordan's got to pull something out of his ass. And the good news about Jordan is he can do it. And you just see the way Jordan just kind of goes from here, flips, and throws. I mean, that is hard. And he's not stepping into the right throw. He can just do it. And it's unique, man. That's a freaking great throw. It's too bad. All right, another bunch down here on the right. So now we got the little guard pull, right? We got the counter look where we got the kick out and the tight ends following through, and then no psych, and they come out and they run, I think, the best run of the day to Bo Melton on the reverse. When these work, everyone goes, "Oh, great call, great call." So it was a great call. When sometimes when they don't work, all the experts say, "Oh, I don't like that." We got to get the reality is against this defensive line, blah 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 blah. You want to create some opportunities to schematically win and get some free yards. How did they get free yards so far? Well, they threw a swing pass for 15 or 16 to our running back, which is the longest run of the game. And then they did a reverse to Bo, which ends up being the longest run of the game. And then, of course, Malik Willis has a quarterback keeper on what they'll probably call an RPO look, but the reality is, like, we don't run that play and that with that intent with Jordan in the game. So another wrinkle where they kind of open up the playbook to create 3 plays that happen to be our biggest 3 plays of the game on the ground. 2x2. Stacked on the bottom here. Running Wicks over the top. Why is this play awesome? Because they want to stay in cover. They want to stay with 2 high. So they want to keep these guys up. We bring the motion over. That signals to him to get eyes on, and he has to hold because they might have to bump this. Okay, if he drops back now, they got to start bumping this out for that third receiver because they also have here, so technically you've got 4 to a side. Like if he runs and they stay, you got 4 to a side, so this linebacker's involved now. That's one way to take somebody out of the run game. They do a good job here, and they communicate this pre-snap where they decide that Sean Ryan's going to come and help Jordan Morgan, which makes a ton of sense for numerous reasons. They watch this. I'm going to highlight this on the end zone copy, but this is a great job by Aaron Banks at capturing that 2-eye and making this play go. Fantastic job by Aaron Banks. That's how you block a 2-eye on the backside. Or was that a shade? Excuse me. Shade. Even better. That is the way you block a shade. So I'm talking about, like, Aaron Banks dip, strike second step, get those hips through, run. That's how you win football games right there, man. That's really good. All right, little wrinkle here. This is the other player I was talking about with Malik Willis. So I think this is the longest or second longest run of the game. They motion in, fake the dive with Wilson on the split, just simple split flow, right? So we're just running split flow. Nothing changes. The difference is, and we talked about this a days ago. You can see what the difference is here if you look at Zach Tom. Zach Tom's going to go here, and he wants to capture and actually hook outside. Jordan Love's not keeping this football because they don't want him to get hit. Extra lineman. Does it piss me off? Does it piss me off a little bit that we don't give him a route? Yeah, it does. It sucks. Give him a route. You know what he has to do right here? Doop, 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 doop. Turn around. Touchdown. That's it. But watch this throw and catch. I don't know, I'll show you the end zone. First of all, he's getting absolutely just hammered. I'm talking about Malik Willis. But, was he throwing to him? Man. 70. Give 70 a route. Come on. He gets his clock cleaned by Burns. That's a tough kid right there, man. And I'm guessing his eyes are on Christian Watson there. I'm guessing he's not looking at the crosser, but I don't know. If that's what he wanted to do, man, that was a hell of a throw. We got first and 10. Little insert play action. Off schedule throw. Jordan does it as well as anybody. Again, we talk about footwork and just doing a good job of get your hips back around. Little wrinkle here for the Green Bay Packers in the run game. Doesn't work, but I like it. I also would have liked if he just would have pulled this and thrown it to the ghost motion, but is what it is. But a little wrinkle. We talked about this actually last week. Hey, if you can't reach this guy because it's Dexter Lawrence, then just fold it, come around and make the play here. You got to, it's not always clean. Now, what's going to bother the absolute shit out of you is this guy leaves. So you really end up with nobody to block over here. So you can be this, so you can double this, but you can kind of be back to man. You can hold here forever because there is literally nobody to go to in the box. I'll play it so you can see. So 33 leaves. 58 leaves. Okay. Now, Zach Tom's got it figured out. He's like, okay, we're good, right? We're good. I'm going to hinge back here, make sure we got to play because there's nobody to go to. There's nobody to go to. We don't need anybody to go to. We're going to try to fold around here and make this play on 22. Okay? Jordan Morgan's over here. Put Zach Tom in a bad spot. He's blocking nobody. Come through and finish off this block or finish off this play. It's like, don't need it. Don't need it. If you are a wide receiver and you're lined up like this, does that mean anything? To me it does. So we go to 4 to a side here. So quads look. Not the best snap. God damn it, Mike. Not the best snap. Here we go. Got 3 to a side here of defensive line. Dexter Lawrence is a big dude. Watch Dexter Lawrence here. This is why he was like, that's why the snap's bad. Try it again, sorry. Oh, I got it too early. That part. Yeah, it's a big man. So they end up trying to figure out how to man this over here with the Giants. They're going to man this up. And Musgrave, you got another shot here, to make a catch, break a tackle, get to the first down marker. If he breaks that. But this actually almost turns out to be the play of the game. They ended up counting him down after official review, but sheezel Pete's, it's tough. You're hurting for the kid because you want him to make some plays, man, but you got to make some plays. Look, by the way, this is a close game. Like, those gray seats, I think those are empty, huh? It's tough. Fourth quarter. Hot ticket. All right, we got 3rd and 1. Little insert look here with Wicks. Another good fake. This is our best play. This is by far the best play in football if you're a Green Bay Packers fan right now. Little switch release. And just, what does the switch release do? Well, one, it allows Watson to start off the ball. And then he just gets a straight shot. And because they're going under center play action, he's not looking to like have to run around one of these guys trying to pick him off. So he just gets a straight shot. Now, at this point, I don't know. I've never been this fast. I'm guessing he's not even thinking about this dude. I'm guessing he's thinking about the dude over here, trying to figure out how to angle this so, like, I know I'm going to be able to run around him. But again, I've never been that fast, so I'm just speculating. But you know that to be true because the way he sticks it right here, that safety's right there. He puts his foot in the ground, so he goes out, up, and sticks it across and knows that now I got leverage on both of you. I could run for days. Again. Must be nice. You love when they try to insert or do something like that to show the play action stuff, though. It makes a lot of sense. 2nd and 7. Looks like we gained a couple fans. Nope. All right, we got 2nd and 7. This play, unbelievable. Getting bull rushed here at the left tackle position. I think that's by a linebacker. Who is that? 45. Who the hell is that? Anyways, gets Jordan on his back foot. These plays, you're just... Look, it's they call PI here. These are the plays where you're like, maybe somebody does like the Green Bay Packers because this is not one of those throws off your back foot that you're just thrilled about, but ends up getting the call. Golden gets the call, puts us down. They score. 81's first touchdown of his career. Congratulations to you. Yeah, I didn't realize. I thought that was like Burns or somebody. I didn't know it was 45. Just giving a good bull there, huh? Now, this is what I was talking about on with Andy Herman. One thing about Matthew Golden right now is he's probably only got certain route combinations. Like, is he running like a deep out? Is he running digs? Is he running some more complicated, some of the stick stuff or the choice routes? Like, I don't know that he isn't. I maybe haven't looked at it that much, but it seems like every time I'm watching him, he's either running some sort of horizontal thing here or he's running vertical. Right, so I think his route menu is pretty limited right now. And again, I could be off, but I think that to be the case. All right, big 3rd and 2 play here. Kind of a bunch. A little more spread out up top there. That is an elite throw. Plants. Now, here's when Jordan does this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plant, pop, throw. I mean, you throw the football as well as anybody on the planet. And they go with man here. And they want to get this little, this is big across the league now. So you do a switch and they go here, and then whether this guy wants to come across or whatever. But the other thing they're doing is they're running this out, and then they want this lead blocker, and they want to leave this as an option if they run like a deep zone look where like these guys weren't man. Then we can just, we just kind of have a 2-on-1 out there. But, man, this is a great football throw. And I've said this before with Christian Watson. It's kind of one of those things you just kind of start noticing is like, if there's a red line here, he needs to stick on it and allow this ball to come over his back shoulder and keep this guy away and give yourself this space. And he drifts into the sideline pretty easily. Now, that's a really, really tough ball to catch. We got a 3rd and 10 play. Again, got to have it play here. Bunch look. Savion Williams play here. And, watch this whole thing kind of unfold just from the route combinations. So last week, they ran double outs here and here. They ran it twice. The second one was a big one to Watson. This week, they run all curl with a little leak. So the big play here on 3rd and 10 was all curl, okay? Knowing these guys are probably going to play at the sticks. So I think, quite frankly, with good reason, he's going like, wow, there's literally nobody open. He doesn't want to throw this check down, although if that's Tucker Kraft, he probably does want to throw the check down because he feels real, real good about, him being able to get there. Okay? So that's where you miss the Tucker Kraft. There's been really good pro. Now, Burns sneaks in late, but, whatever. But this is what Jordan can do. And, you just see his, body angle when he's throwing this ball. It's like, I've never seen a high school coach teach that. But he can do it. And this is the thing, you have to understand about quarterbacks or about any one of these, really athletic positions, not athletic positions, skill-based positions, where there's a lot of body transfer from, say, the ground and through your body into your arm in here. It's like different shooters, different baseball pitchers, these quarterbacks. It's not about being uniform with everybody else necessarily because body mechanics are different. But what is important to understand is, he's priming himself by getting him into this kind of body position that he likes before he throws the football. And when he does that, man, he can do some really special stuff. And one thing, when he throws these moon balls like that, they seem to work out pretty well. So we got a 1st and 10 look. Here's this tight end lead again. With Wilson now, one of the better runs of the game. Just because I'm pointing it out, here we are. He's down there making, trying to make things happen. I love it. So this is such a good play for them to install because nobody thinks you're going to run split flow with the back here, but all they're doing is running kick. So this guy tries to creep up. Got down block, here, this kick out, and now it's here, bang, out the gate. Aaron Banks does a great job, not a good job, of he's got a down block and he redirects and gets vertical and blocks this guy square. If he takes two more steps and tries to block him out, 33 makes the play in the hole. Okay, it's little things. Gets up, squares up, and I know it's just a little lineman thing, but he tries to get his head back across to this side. Now remember, Aaron Wilson's coming straight downhill now, waiting for this kick out or potential log, right? And now he can go. But this guy, Aaron Banks, knows that this play is supposed to go outside, so he's got to get his head across. He ends up doing it. Right there. Makes the play. It's awesome. Good blocking by Christian Watson. Watson does the dirty work, man. You got to like him. Now, this play is awesome because right about now, everybody knows where this ball's going. As soon as they went here, middle of the field, Like that's nowhere near good enough when you're running this little corner route. Like, and again, footwork, timing, everything. He's probably walking up to the line here going like, just guys, whatever you got to do, let me get the ball out of my hands. This is a touchdown. There is no way on God's green earth that this guy can worry about this space, which he has to worry about the in cut, and have any chance of getting into the corner of the end zone with a good throw on with Christian Watson. There's just no way. Great throw. Watch the timing. Bang, back foot, rip. Oh, that's big time, man. Get the double on 97. Great double on 97. Everybody knows it's a throw. Shitty snap. Big time. Okay, so as you can see, at the end of the day, you're making some big plays at the quarterback position. Christian Watson made some incredible catches. There were some catches on the tape that I didn't put on that were very nice as well. I think this was a very even football game, which is weird to say against a 2-9 football team. But that's kind of where the Packers are. They're winning these games because I do think they have more talent. Certainly, when you have all those guys injured for the Giants on offense in particular. But you just see, there's kind of a lack of a pass rush, not named Micah Parsons. I think we do good at getting off the single blocks in the interior, but holding up against doubles maybe isn't as good as you want. They're able to, our 12 personnel package is going to have to look different now without Tucker Kraft. I don't think defenses are going to respect us putting in 2 or 3 tight ends as far as getting what you like. We talked about this before, but part of that personnel idea is you're putting the defense in a quandary, a situation where they're going, all right, if you have this many big guys on the field, we need to counter with big guys, otherwise you'll run the ball. But if you have tight ends who aren't great blockers, I'll just over exaggerate this to not insult anybody. If you had a room full of tight ends that were 6'5" and 210 pounds, they're wide receivers. They're just slow. If they can't block, there's no reason to put in linebackers to make sure that you can hold up against them. You don't need to get to base personnel. And if you don't have to do that, you can stay in a 2-man shell, or you cover 4, cover 6, whatever you want. If you're not getting that benefit because you still can't run the football, like we can't run the football with against a 2-high shell right now, then being in 12 personnel, who cares? You might as well go to 11. Might as well go to 4 wides. It doesn't really matter, right? Because you're not getting any advantage out of it. Talked about this a little bit on Andy Herman's show. If you're not getting the advantage out of the personnel grouping that you want, whether it's the run or the pass game or both, then switch personnel groupings. And this is why we've talked about we should go to jumbo, at least as a changeup, because now if you got a 320-pound dude in there, they're bringing a linebacker and an extra lineman. You're losing a DB. For 100%, you're losing a DB if you bring in an extra lineman. I can't say that with anybody else on this team right now. So things to think about. Guys, here's the listener questions. Let me get to them real quick. Get as many as I can here in about 15 minutes. Can someone get Mike Wahle to play guard? No. I'm curious if you think the current offensive line can be a winning unit. I actually do. I just think it takes time. I think you got a player playing in the wrong position. I've talked about it before. Don't need to harp on it any longer. I think, what I do when I'm not here is I work with NFL guys, college guys, high school guys, in being really, really good at winning their 1v1 matchup. And one thing I don't talk about that much on the show that I probably should spend a little time on now is offensive line. So football's cool because scheme's kind of taken over football, and football's cool because it's an 11-man sport, and everybody's got to be you always talk about on offense, at least everyone's got to be on the same page. What that means in large part with the 7-on-7 guys, if we were just going to kind of split the 7-on-7 guys in the offensive line, is the 7-on-7 guys, because they see so many different coverages and zones and like, guys are trying to hide stuff. It's not like the defense lines up every single play in press man coverage and it's like, you got to beat me off the line. You got to do all this stuff, right? So identifying all that in real time as you're running full speed and I understand where the safety is, or taking your drop as the quarterback. The quarterback never has a true one-on-one matchup, right? They're always looking at the defense and reacting to it. So when we talk about like technical mastery, running back's kind of the same thing. I can give you a million different looks to play with the running back, but the running back's kind of seeing enough things in his head and understanding the scheme so you can become like what they just call like an instinctual runner. So when we talk about technique and like being able to win your 1v1, really the offensive line position or the defensive line position, maybe the linebacker position, is the one or the few positions where every single play there's an equal mix of like, I have to understand what defense they're running. I have to understand the change ups and the subtleties and their stances and their splits and their depth and their safety rotation and all that. Not necessarily the same stuff to the same extent as like a wide receiver would have to, because we're a different spot on the field. But I have to understand all that as in context of like, what do I have to accomplish on this particular play. But now the other thing is, on almost every play, I also have to beat another human being. Like another grown man is trying to do me harm and I'm trying to do him harm. And that confrontation requires that I have an incredible amount of technique. And so schemes taking over this league, and we don't think about, like you always hear about in college, they don't think about the technique as much. They're like, no, just get them in the right spot. Get these big guys, like everybody run that way. Everybody, go to that guy when we're running this play and we'll be okay, kind of. Like, it's not detailed. And so when you see really good players in the National Football League, they're not only good athletes who understand where they're going, but they also they go to guys so they can learn how to win those one-on-one matchups. And so I harp on that offensive defensive line more than anybody else, because one, that's kind of how I understand the game. But two, I see the difference in guys that can do that on a consistent basis and guys that can, and what their difference is in their paychecks, and what the difference is in like how well they execute on the field, how good they look, like how aesthetically pleasing it is to watch those guys, how dominant they are. So it's not the same. Like that's not a like for like across the board. Now, does a wide receiver have to have great technique on their releases, their blocking, they're coming in and out of their routes, all of it? Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. But they also have to know when to sit down in routes and this and that. Like it just isn't always like a me versus you, 1v1 matchup. So there is a little bit of context behind all this stuff and why we kind of always look at like, okay, well, how do we make the offensive line better? You want to be an offensive line coach. You want to, like, if you really want to get good, you've got to practice that part of the game like your life depended on it. I always look at like, I go to the absolute high, like biggest impact or biggest consequence to study and see how detailed they are. And then that's the standard. So, if you go look at a Navy SEAL, or if you go in sports, if you go look at like an MMA fighter, like the real practitioners, the jiu-jitsu guy, the level of detail that they're talking about, the time on the mat, the time they're studying their, like how to win their 1v1, that's the standard that you want to hold yourself to if you're trying to play a position like offensive or defensive line in particular, where your technique and your value for the team is based on how you win your 1v1 matchup. So look, kind of that's the standard as I'm looking at the game. That's the standard that I'm trying to set for these guys. So maybe sometimes it seems harsh, but that's just because I don't know any other way to think about it. But I do think this team could be, have a good unit. Like I said it today, like I like the way Aaron Banks runs off the ball. Like I like how like he tries to be a physical player, tries to finish blocks, he tries to pick up the running back. He behaviorally does the right stuff. He's just got to get better with his footwork. Are all these guys, but is he if you watch the tape, how many other guys are just running off the ball and trying to smash people versus fitting into blocks and then trying to run their feet? Like how many people are trying to be like the tip of the spear right? Or really trying to be like the hammer and just popping somebody and then popping those hips through, like getting your hands inside and then running, having your feet chase your hips, like being sudden. How many guys are doing that versus like getting chest to chest, maybe hands are outside, and then just trying to like, you know, doing some of whatever this is, doing some of that, and then just kind of stalemating. The more we get guys to feel confident enough in their footwork that they can get off the ball, right, and get to their position, or feel confident they can punch through their hips and really strike with control with their hands, like then you get this better and better and better football team, and that would be, I think, the way to get over the hump and feel like really feel like you can compete for a championship. Uh, Tyler asks, can you break down the safety communication on the back end? Seems like McKinney and Williams are so in sync. Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it starts with, obviously the play call. Sometimes the linebacker has to make the call based on the passing strength or the run strength on what they're calling. We saw it in this game in particular. He had to send, McKinney came down, and McDuffie was coordinating traffic and had to tell Evan Williams to go back. It was on one of the counter plays that we actually were in the right position, and I think Cooper didn't make what I would just call a strong enough impact on John Runyon Jr. when he was pulling. But you see that communication. A lot of it's going to be done pre-snap based on what they see from a passing strength. I have to imagine like Evan Williams is really smart, but Xavier McKinley has just a wealth of knowledge and experience in the league already. How much is happening post snap? I don't know. The communication, like you saw one where Valentine's trying to pass off to Evan Williams at the safety position when they were going to switch the deep crossers. So I think a lot of that happens. But as far as like, okay, you go here, I go there, it's just based on like what the coverage is, what the call is. And a lot of that stuff's going to be executed pre snap. I think those guys probably spend a lot of time trying to line up like in a way where guys you can't immediately read what the coverage is. So whether that means they're going to be staggered and flip, whether that means they're going to be even and split, like whatever is like, hey, we're running 2 here. Let's start out like we're running 4, or start out maybe like we're running 3 this time. I'll come down to the strong side, and then we'll both sprint back and get into our cover 2 drops. I think they spend a lot of time communicating on how they're going to set the table. And then all the post snap stuff, all the post snap stuff is not limited to just the 2 of them. I think it's around the entire DB room, including Bullard, including Valentine, and including Nixon. The Giants O-line that good, or the Packers D-line not have a good game. Seems like the Packers D-line got pushed around for most of the game. So I think both teams were able to run like some form of duo, and then either the guard tight end lead or like what we just call tight end kick for the Packers. So the double teams work. Here, another way of me saying that is like the double teams worked for both teams, and then the single blocks didn't necessarily work because I don't like the guard play inside. Although you saw that one with Aaron Banks and how important that play was on the backside shade. For the 8-yard run for Wilson, or was that Brooks? Can't remember. But those plays don't happen too often. I don't know, particularly at the point of attack, how good we are on either side of the guard position of kind of being able to push that 3 technique out of the way if you want. So you saw a lot of success, or you saw like the 4 to 5 to 6 yard runs, the every once in a while 7, 8 yard run from the duo looks, the double teams, the down blocks with the kickouts, things like that. Not a lot of, and to the point with both the teams really, and the Giants did it earlier, was like they were trying to run zone. They're not good at it. Like we were better at defending zone than they were at playing, so they just stopped doing it. It's like, okay, we don't need to do that anymore. We can't block those guys, so let's start running the down blocks, the doubles, the stuff that like we have better angles and we get downhill on. To go back to some conversations I heard last week, it's not about how big you are. It's like, what are you good at? Like some guys are good at running zone, some guys aren't. Some backs are good at running zone, some backs aren't. If you don't have good hands and footwork, you're not going to be a good zone running blocker. But you can still get downhill, and if you're a bumper and there's another guy that's going to double team with you, you can still do that pretty well, right? It's not that it's not as hard. It's just a different kind of difficulty. So I did think that our D line kind of showed that they could get, not manhandled by any means. But I've never really liked how they take on double teams. Like I know it for me, it's harder if a guy takes on a double team by turning into a single block and attacking one of the guys, I've always found that like more difficult to play against versus like a guy tries to actually take on a true double team with like a shoulder on each guy. Like I just don't think that's that. I don't think it's that hard. Brian asks, I know you're not a huge draft guy, but if you had to evaluate the roster, where do they need an injection of talent in the offseason? They need another pass rusher. You know, is Matthew Golden going to be a number one wide receiver, or anybody who's going to be the true like Devontae Adams type there? I think that's a need. They need an offensive lineman. Jair Alexander was a true shutdown corner for a couple of years in Green Bay. Do we have one of those guys on the roster? I think those probably those positions. Feel great about safety. Feel great about young linebackers. Feel great about running back, quarterback, tight end. Feel great about Micah Parsons. Yeah, that's what I would say. I would say great interior offensive lineman. Maybe he's on the roster already. I'm not. I'll just say it right now. Like I don't think it's a. I think Jordan Morgan plays left tackle next year because I don't think he can bring back Rasheed Walker. I don't. I have no idea. I'm not. I wouldn't. I guess they have to go in because it's a first round draft pick and saying like we're not going to. They're not going to draft that position. But I don't think it's just like this gimme. I don't. I just don't think that's a layup. That's your tackle for the next 10 years. Like, I don't know if that's Chad Clifton. Well, I know it's not Chad Clifton, like you had Chad and Bakhtiari at that position for like 20 years, like those are amazing players. So tough. I'm curious if you saw a more attention to detail compared to last week. I thought we were better in our doubles on the offensive line. Obviously when you have 7 drops on offense and 4 drops on defense, attention to detail is one of those things where you don't throw on loosely. Eric asks, do coaching staffs bring in consultants or ex-players in addition to help with technique for offensive linemen? No, they don't. I actually worked for a team. I will not disclose their name. And they did bring me in. I was working with tackling, and obviously I work with offensive line. I did not work with anybody on their team, but I offered that service. And this team was not playing very well up front. And the head coach, who's a great guy, came to me and just said, look, I cannot use you on that side of the ball because my offensive line coach will get butthurt. Like he will get butthurt. And not because they didn't hire me, but because they played so poorly that year, everybody got fired. And I think we talked about this on Andy's show. That thought process of let's think about the loyalty to the staff and their feelings more than loyalty to the mission of creating the best environment to be successful, whether that's bringing in somebody like me or not. Don't get me wrong. I'm just the general thought process of let's be loyal to that person who's not doing their job versus let's get somebody in there who's going to do that job really well or uncover whatever other stone that needs to be uncovered if that person needs help. Like Dan Campbell, for example, as quietly as he possibly could, went to the coordinator and said, like, I'm calling the plays now. And he's never called plays in his life. But he's like, my team, my responsibility, these guys need more. I'm going to try to do this. I'm doing everything I can. It's probably going to hurt that other guy. That if that other guy was trying to get in a coordinator job somewhere else, a play calling job somewhere else, or head coaching job somewhere else, that didn't help. But you got to stay loyal to the mission. And that's something that a guy like Dan Campbell understands. Some of these coaches don't, and that's the problem. Or would a player seek that out? Yeah, a lot of guys do. We already talked about it. If you were the GM and you could pick a guard in the NFL as the perfect guard for Green Bay, who would it be? Well, Quentin Nelson's perfect for anybody because he's amazing. Same for center. The best players in the league are good anywhere. So if like right now, if you said, Quentin Nelson wants to play for Green Bay. Okay, enough said. If you went, who's the fellow? The kid from Kansas City, the center wants to play for Green Bay. I don't care what we want to run option. I don't give a shit. Like he's better than everybody else. If um if Tunzel wants to play left tackle for Green Bay, like I don't, what install whatever you want to install, or if Trent Williams says, "Hey, I want to play my last year in Green Bay for the Green Bay Packers, but I want to run, the option offense, and or shit, I want to play, you know, right tackle." You just they're all perfect because they're the best players on the field. You know, the misnomer, I think, because we get in these conversations and there's so many draft experts and Twitter experts about this is a zone guy, or this is a downhill guy, or this is a man guy, or this is a he's got long arms, he's got short arms, he's tall. The best players can do anything really well, and whatever they do best, everybody does something at the best thing they do. Whatever it could be, they tie their shoes. I was like a pulling guard. I pulled better than everybody else, so they pulled me a lot, right? If you've got Trent Williams, right? Trent Williams is the best guy to make the backside three technique disappear on the planet. So if they run a zone play away from him, like the cutback's always there, so they run it a lot, like when he's healthy, right? Like makes sense. Um, it's up to the staff to put those plays in to allow those people that are really good at a certain thing, and you're talking about the best guys in the league, to do it as much as possible. Just like figuring out what your running back likes to do. Mike, if you were the GM and you could pick a guard, oh, I just read that one. Blah, 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 blah. What did Mike Kafka change? Well, I think they took some chances, certainly on that first fourth down when they got it to the sideline. We didn't get a great pass rush. That was 4th and 3 on the 44 going out. Like, you just took a couple more risks there. The other thing is he changed the game plan as far as trying to slow this thing down. Ran the ball 38 times for like a 3.7 yard average, which is terrible, but enough to move the sticks, get the possession. It's slogfest. Like, slow the game down. Jordan Love doesn't need to have the football. Let's hope they have 7 drops and get a couple calls here and there, and blah 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 blah, and like we'll keep this thing close and make a play at the end. Like they did exactly what they wanted to do. We just made the plays at the end. What did you think of Ryan at center? I honestly, there was some. I think there was at least one snap was a little bit errant. Imagine your first game at starting, and this is a audition. Call it what it is. This is an audition for him to be the center for the long term for the Green Bay Packers. And imagine you're just like, hey, good news. You get this like audition at center. You could be the guy for the next 10 years here. Oh, cool. Yeah, we're playing against Dexter Lawrence. It's like, shit. And Dexter Lawrence threw him on the ground once. He beat him with an arm over once. He blew him up on a 3rd and 1 once. But I'm not just going to sit here. Like, the game didn't look any different than it did the week before, the week before, the week before, the week before. Like, I didn't see a big difference between him and Elton Jenkins. I think he has better footwork than Elton Jenkins does. I think Elton Jenkins is a better football player right now at this time in their, I think Elton Jenkins, when Elton Jenkins was playing left guard, is a better football player than Sean Ryan is right now at center. But I do think that Sean Ryan has the best footwork on the interior right now. I think that he's got the right demeanor. I just think like he goes about his business the right way. And these are things you can clean up, and you're not always going to play against an all-pro. If Jacobs is out, does that change the run scheme at all? More outside zone. Love Josh Jacobs, that run scheme with Aaron Jones at the end of 23 was okay. Yeah, both guys. When Aaron Jones left, we were like, how can you get rid of Aaron Jones? Josh Jacobs is not Aaron Jones. And I think Aaron Jones was amazing. I think what he did run after catch, screen game, obviously the outside zone stuff. And he's, a different kind of runner, a little bit, maybe more like Josh makes people miss in the hole like nuts. But yeah, like you do feel like Aaron Jones is more like the stretch, one cut, bang, just gone right through the hole before anybody could get there. The problem is we don't have the interior. We're just not blocking the zone very well. So it doesn't matter who's in the backfield. Like, you can't run it. If the guy can't, if you got the same lineup and the guy can't block the 3 tech, like, you can't run the play. I think what you're probably going to see is more duo, more tight end kick, more guard counter. They've run some pin and pull like plays that have had some success. So I think you build on that. And then the other thing that Matt LaFleur was able to do this week, right? Everybody bitches about like, oh, get bread and butter. Okay, so like they run the reverse, best run of the game. They run the swing pass that turns out to be a run, second best or third best run of the game. They run the quarterback RPO, which they probably won't run with Jordan Love because they don't want him to get hurt. They run it with Malik Willis, second or third best run of the game. So your top three runs are like kind of gimmick plays, right? Which is, one, a statement about how your run game is, but two, a statement about like your coach has the ability to find plays that could get you double, explosive runs. There are three explosive runs in the running game. Your three explosive plays in the running game were gimmicks. So is that kind of that is what it is. Was I tripping? Did the line actually play good? Here's what I'd say about the line. This is kind of going unnoticed. Like they got Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, and usually Thibodeau. You didn't really call their names very often. Like the tackles played really, really well. And of course, like Brian Burns is always going to win late, and Abdul Carter is going to win late, and we hold the ball sometimes, and scramble around, blah blah blah. But like those guys played well. So yeah, I mean, outside, I thought they did a really good job. Now nothing's ever perfect, but they did a really good job. And 91 and 95 are not, I mean, they're NFL players, but they're not superstars, right? So did we handle guys that we should handle? Absolutely. Now, do you struggle against Dexter Lawrence? Yeah. I mean, but that's what happens. I thought they did better at the inside doubles. I thought the tackles played well. Arlie asks Mike, after watching Philly Bay down 3-4, bat down 3-4 passes with their DTs, do you think Green Bay should coach that? Everybody coaches that, but the other part of that is like Jordan Davis, for example, for Philly, like, or Jalen Carter, they get doubled so much that they just start looking for it, right? Whereas a lot of times our guys feel like they have one-on-ones because they do. And those guys like to line up and go through people. And we try to go around the outside more often than not, right? Or we line up wide and then come back in. And so all those kind of like moves, like rushes with moves that aren't just like right off the line, trying to beat you right off the line. Like Jalen Carter tries to get people try to short set him all the time because they're scared of his bull rush. So then he tries to win at the line right now. So if he doesn't win at the line right now, he can start batting shit down. Same with Jordan Davis. Whereas like you give Jordan Davis a head of steam, dude ran like a 4.7 or something like that at the combine, right? He's like 330, 320. So if you give him a 4.73 and he runs a 320, runs a 4.7, you give him like two steps, like he's going to run me right over. So they try to get him at the line of scrimmage. So they do a lot of quick moves at the line of scrimmage. But like Carl Brooks, nobody cares if Carl Brooks bull rushes him because he's 295 at D tackle. So he's got like pass rush moves, like proper. I'm going to get to the edge. I'm going to try to get to the other edge, go horizontal or vertical, like bat your arms down. So he's got proper moves. Those are going to get you deeper into the play and deeper to the quarterback, where like you don't really need to bat anything down because you're trying to win. You're not getting stoned to the line of scrimmage. Any word on Marshall Lloyd? Not for me. Last one here. Love your breakdowns. Is Jordan Morgan a tackle playing out of position? He seems so much more comfortable there, and he seems to struggle with the power of big guys inside. Agreed. Is there such thing as a tackle only? There absolutely is. Usually the taller, skinnier guys are kind of play inside because of the bend and the power and everything. Look, the game inside is not as hard as the game outside because the athletes outside are like, Abdul Carter is a freakazoid. The way that the game's being played right now, with the amount of like tight end hipped off or running back hipped off or wide receiver chips that across the league tackles are getting, like go back and watch 90% of the football teams and watch how many times the left tackle has to take like a 5 or 7 step drop back pass without a chip. Like it doesn't happen very often anymore. It's probably like, I would guess it's less than 20 times a game. I guess it's less than 15. It's probably around 10 or 12 times a game, which that used to be the norm, right? You wouldn't get that many chips. You might chip the tackle on the right side on the way out, but like the hipped off stuff has kind of evolved the game, right? So everybody chips now. So I mean, I think that helps everyone. The suddenness inside with the power that's inside it's different. And so it happens like that. But then like you're not going to miss that guy. That's why like when Justin Tuck comes inside in the Super Bowl and runs NASCAR against, an all pro guard in the Patriots, Logan Mankins, Logan's like, what the hell is going on? It's not that Logan Mankins, like, he could probably play tackle, but when that guy lines up tight and all of a sudden you got like this dude who's never seen before, who's 275, runs a 4.6, just doesn't get off like a 315-pound, 4.950 guy. There's not as much to hit. They can turn side. It's just different. Like you got to get used to it. So it's a different sensation. I think ultimately net guard's going to be easier than tackle. I mean, there's a disparity in the pay for a reason. But yeah, I think some guys are just more, if you're not a physical football player, you can't play inside. And guys can get to become a physical player as more confident they get. Maybe their demeanor changes a little bit, but right now, and again, I'll go back to it. Like I'm not, he's the default left tackle next year because they're going to get rid of Sheed Walker because he's going to ask for a contract, and that's why they drafted him and all that stuff. And I think if it works out, it makes tons of sense. Like I'm saying it now, and I've said it in the last couple of weeks. Like I don't know if they're doing him a favor right now because I think game experience is fantastic, but it also like you don't want his confidence to go down because he is having a really difficult time with some of the more physical aspects of the game. Now, he's not getting beat in the pass pro, which is the most important thing. Protecting your quarterback. He, for the most part, does a good job of that. So maybe when you look at it and go, yeah, well, like that's the tackle thing. So maybe that's what's going to pull him through. But I think there's guys on the team that could be. I would be really interested to see a right guard as well. I don't know if I answered your question, but I tried. All right, well, we got the Vikings next week. I'll get a preview out. Guys, thanks for watching. Keep bringing in the questions, all this stuff down to Mike Wahle 68 on Twitter, Process to Perform Instagram, Process to Perform channel. Yeah, all of it. I love football. I'll see you guys.